The BBC have their own code of conduct. I'm sure it sounds fancy, but it's not really. If you go onto the BBC website, you can view this code of conduct for yourself. Basically, the BBC code of conduct is just to be unbiased, really. The BBC run off the telly licence. They don't necessarily have the same problem that every other telly channel has. You see, ITV, let's say they're getting money off Gillette, shaver, for just because they're paying them for advertising. They're paying them to advertise their product on their telly channel. Let's say they're paying them, we'll go small, we'll say £50,000 a year. Sounds like a lot, but £50,000 a year to run this Gillette commercial all year round. Then ITV are approached by a young man with a documentary telling people why Gillette Fusion cuts your face. I know. Obviously, ITV will not be allowed to play this because they're losing out on that £50,000 a year from Gillette. Because if they pay this, Gillette will refuse to give them the money. Obviously, ITV won't show their commercial, but that's no real skin off their nose when they're advertising everywhere else. But you see, whereas the beauty of BBC is everything runs off a telly licence. So the BBC can say what they like about Gillette, and they can say what they like about anything, really. The BBC is most trusted around the world because of its unbiasedness. But if you think the BBC only ever advertises itself, the BBC will never slander itself. And then in there, I suppose the problem lies. If the BBC lies to us, they can't tell us. That'll be left down to the job of ITV. But BBC can sit there all day long and they can slander ITV, Channel 4, Gillette, Gordon Ramsay, loads of stuff, and they'll not get in trouble for it. Because unless they basically turn around and say, I wipe my bum on your telly licence, I think we're fine. But yeah, the BBC code of conduct basically is just so that they're unbiased, and also because the BBC code of conduct also states about the watershed and what time certain programmes can't be aired, etc, etc. So yeah, like I said, if you want BBC website, the code of conduct is up on there for you to look at. The PCC is the Press Complaints Commission. Basically, the PCC are in charge of your newspapers when, I was talking earlier about BBC when they've been biased. Well, they're usually unbiased, but certain channels and certain news programmes can be biased. This goes in your newspaper as well. Basically, you may remember the Hillsborough disaster. The Hillsborough disaster was really bad, and the Sun, almost, it might have been a day, might have been 2 days, 3 days after, I don't know, I went born, but the Sun put the truth on a newspaper, and they told people that people are being violent towards bobbies. So during the Hillsborough disaster, urinating on bobbies and thieving from the dead. And this was not true. None of it was true. And the Sun portrayed it as truth. The PCC got involved and attempted to make the Sun apologise, but the Sun didn't apologise. And years later, I was born then, the Sun actually apologised. When Channel 4 went to go and make the Sun man apologise, he wasn't really up for apologising. He was obviously embarrassed by this, but still, it should not have gone forward. The PCC are in charge of making sure newspapers are honest and tell the truth, which is the press's job, and to make sure they're not lying. If a newspaper lies or upsets somebody in any way, shape or form, they get on board to the PCC, and the PCC take it from there. But the PCC is supposed to be getting replaced. I don't know what by, but it's supposed to be getting replaced. Because the PCC is not government run, it's a private firm. So it will be getting replaced. But yeah, for now the PCC is Press Complaints Commission. So anytime you've got a complaint about your newspaper, you take it to them. So yeah. The ASA stands for Advertising Standards Agency. Basically what these guys do is, well, first let me explain the process of an advert. When an advert is made, it is then sent to a focus group, or a test audience if you will. They'll see if there's any problems with it, and then they'll let the advertising people who have filmed the advertisement or created the advertisement know. The advert is then sent to Clearcast for a check from them. If there's any alterations that need to be made, they're made, but some stuff can slip through. So that's where ASA comes into stuff. For example, if someone from the public has a problem with an advertisement, they don't go to Clearcast, they go to ASA, the Advertisement Standards Agency, and the ASA will then look at the advert, see what's wrong, and there are three situations you have, and three categories that your advert could fall into. Firstly, upheld means that there is an issue with it. It will be taken off TV until that issue is sorted. If it is not upheld, it means there is no issue with it and it's fine to carry on air. If it's partially upheld, it means some parts are a problem and they can change it before it goes back on air. If it's just upheld though, it is banned. If an advert misleads somebody in some way, then obviously it deserves taking down, because you are not allowed to lie on an advertisement. People, your audience, are very influential and you should be aware of this, working in the media industry. I mean, look at the mascara commercials. Some people's lashes are really long on the mascara commercials, and it's obvious that these eyelashes are fake, but they still get away with it. It's not the actual product on their eyes, it's fake eyelashes. But anyway, yeah, that's what the Advertising Standards Agency do. They look at adverts, and if there's a problem with them, they take them down. They are the daddy of adverts. One thing happens in the media industry over and over and over and over, and it's repeated constantly. It's something that annoys me, but it's discrimination. Discrimination of any shape or form is wrong and shouldn't be used in media. The most common discrimination among gender or anything is race discrimination. Now, some celebrities are being pushed to the point of race discrimination where they're actually trying to make the skin lighter. But yet, if you look at white people, we just want to be darker. See, there's something not right there. And for example, with discrimination, if any advertisement, anything in the press, anything on BBC at all, any form of media, in any way discriminates somebody, which it will, then I feel that is wrong. I mean, you look at racism, there's so many huge race issues lately, and through time. I mean, you look at America, that's still a very divided country. You look at our country, people talk about Muslims as though they're all horrible terrorists who want to kill us. But really that couldn't be further from the truth. I know a few Muslims and they're really just like you and me to talk to. They're only people at the end of the day. But I feel that is a big problem with media, that people are getting prejudiced and judged just because of the colour of their skin, just because of how they look. But anyway, that's race discrimination. You'll also see discrimination against gender. A man can order this, a woman can order that. Discrimination against somebody's sexual orientation. For example, you're gay, you can't play this. You're straight, this ain't meant for you. Things like that. You're bisexual, so I suppose you can never go either or. And then you look at discrimination against people's age. I mean, who says an old man can't do cartwheels down a field? Who says that a young man can't go live in an old people's home? It's just not right. The BBFC means British Board of Film Classification. Basically, the BBFC, you may have seen them on game cases or film cases. What they do is, they look at your media product, your media text, they look at it and give it an age rating between usually 3 and 18. Obviously, if a game or a film is an 18, your children watch that and then have nightmares or then trying to copy it, that's your fault as a parent. There is clearly an 18 sticker there given by the BBFC. They've viewed that media product, they've taken influence from it, which is what children do. How can anybody as a parent complain that their children are playing violent games when the children are obviously not old enough to be playing those games? But how can they complain, this film was too scary, my children have seen it, you shouldn't have let your children see it? The BBFC are put there for a reason, to rate these films. And if you're going to a game shop to buy an 18 game and you're only 12, so's probably not getting it. If you go to a second-hand shop, that might be different. I mean, I used to be able to buy 18 games all the time, as long as my dad said it was alright from a second-hand shop. Things like that will never change. You will always have a secondary reader to these products. A game like Grand Theft Auto, if you get your children playing that game, they're going to think it's cool and they're going to try copy bits in it. But anyway, yeah, BBFC, rate your films with certificates on your games. The privacy law is put there for your safety, for your privacy, your peace of mind. But basically, if I will be going out filming soon on my own project, when I want to go out filming, if I want to film in a public place, like a shop or a shopping centre, I will need the permission of the owner directly. This is to protect you more than anything, because you may not want your face to be on camera. You may be an asylum seeker, or you may have been moved by the government for protection, and then if I make this movie and put it on BBC and somebody sees that and I'm telling people where this place is, they're going to know where you are or what general area you're in. So it's to protect you as well, really. Now, looking at all these constraints, all of the constraints, it's clear that they're put there to protect you. For example, the BBFC with a certificate rating is there to protect you or your children. All these constraints combined are there to make things more honest. For example, if these constraints weren't there, the media producers would lie to us a lot more. And that is not right, that's unbiased. That's biased, sorry, that's not fair. So yeah, obviously if you look over each section you should agree with me that these constraints should be here. Thank you.